Shalom, Akim, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushua Ba'Shem, Rakakwadash, double honor to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone. Salute once again to the sincere Akim out there of the hopeful elect. All right, today is so-called Mother's Day, all right, which we know that goes back to ancient Babylonian traditions, all right, which America is Babylon because it follows in the footsteps of ancient Babylon and other ancient kingdoms prior to the rise of America, all right, such as Egypt, Greece, Rome, all right, which America's Rome all over again in the reincarnation. You know, and Mother's Day was celebrated pretty much through, all those different kingdoms, man. All right. But, here it is, May 11th, Mother's Day. You know, you got to go outside, say Happy Mother's Day to all of these women that you see out there that have children, all right? Whether it be mothers, grandmothers, aunties, all these cougars out there and what have you, okay? That's the polite thing to say here in America. Happy Mother's Day. Fucking madness, all right? And when you really look at it, when it comes to the woman of our nation, right? You so-called black woman, you Latino woman, Native American woman, right? Who are the daughters of Israel, you pretty much lost your maternal instincts, man, okay? You lost your maternal instincts because the Lord put these curses on you, all right? It's even to the point wherein, I hate to say it, but, it's pretty much true. When you look at the women of the other nations, they have become better mothers to their children than the women of our nation, all right? Sad to say. But, when you see these white women raising their kids, they embrace their children with hugs, and they talk kind to their children, for the most part, and they encourage them, and their families are well intact for the most part. Like, not all of them are like that, but for the most part, they have a more structured family than our people, When you look at the women of our nations, most of them drive their men away from them, all right? They talk down on their children, because their children reminds them of their baby's daddy, all right? And they constantly putting their children down, okay? So the term Mother's Day is loosely thrown out there on Mother's Day, okay? When, like I said, a lot of our women have lost their maternal instinct. And I say this because recently also I seen a video, like I explained it at camp yesterday when I was watching Hassan Campbell's channel, which he brings out some good information when he's not usually talking about celebrity gossip, all right? But there was something buzzing on the internet about a young lady, mother-to-be, who she was about 8-9 months pregnant, and her friends, so-called friends, all right, with friends like them who need enemies, actually threw her like a surprise baby shower. And these are all girls, all females, all right? And at that baby shower, that celebrating and everything, young lady about to become a mother. Her friends, the same friends that threw her the baby shower, winded up jumping her at the end of the baby shower to the point where she lost the baby, And you would think that, these are all women who are capable of being mothers if some of them are not mothers already, wouldn't take things to that far, to that extreme, to beat a woman who's pregnant with an unborn child, all right, to the point especially where she wound up losing the baby, all right? And of course, these were all black women, Israelite women, okay? So, these girls, they don't have that maternal instinct, man. Our women, when they see another woman that's pregnant, they supposed to be happy for the sister, But we got a lot of our women that are jealous, they're envious, you have a lot of our women that can't even have children, you know, and they've been. It's really a blessing and a curse, because nowadays is not the time really to be having children, with the way society is, and this country about to be destroyed. But being a woman, that's a woman's main her main objective in life, is to bring forth children, to bear children to her husband. Okay, so like I said, like the scriptures say, our women, the daughters of our nation, the mothers of Israel, have become cruel, like the scriptures say, and they've lost that maternal instinct. All right, this is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 3. It says, even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. All right, so even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. How many of you mothers out there can say that you breastfed your children? All right, especially in my generation. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, man. Most of the kids, the people from my era, were Similac children. Grew up off that Similac, man, that baby formula. All right, most of us never, sucked milk from our mother's breast. And that's even to this day. Even to this very day, a lot of these women out here, they don't really breastfeed their children. Okay, all right. But the scriptures say even the sea monsters, which is talking about whales, dolphins, marine mammals. Okay, to be a mammal means you have to have breasts and nipples. Okay. I explained this at camp because I watch a lot of National Geographics, and they showed they showed a mother blue whale with the baby blue whale, and how the baby blue whale swims with the mother and is attached to her breast to suck milk, even though they are marine creatures. And the killer whales, they swim around in a wolf pack trying to separate the baby whale from the mother whale, so they can hunt down the baby and drown it so they can eat it. All right, but the scriptures say even the sea monsters draw out the breast. Okay, and it's not only limited to whales, but the scriptures say the sea monsters. You look at any mammal in the animal world, they give suck to their young ones. Okay, and it says the daughter of my people has become cruel, talking about you Israelite women, you black woman, you Native American woman, you Latino woman. Okay, y'all don't even breastfeed your children, man. Y'all quick to run to CVS, Rite Aid, Dwayne Reed, whatever, and go pick up some baby formula, some Similac, or some shit, Pedialyte and all of that to give to your babies, and you refuse to give suck to your children from your breast, in which that and it's more than just the nourishment, but that develops a special bond between you and your child. The so-called white man is not going to tell you that. He's not going to teach you that. Okay, he would rather that you just feed your child some fucking powdered milk and take your black ass back to work. And our women have become so selfish, so self-absorbed, that they neglect their children, man, and focus on themselves. And that's the reason why they have a lot of hatred towards their children, because they feel like their children, having to raise a child is holding them back from their goals in life. It's stunting their growth, so to speak. All right. So a lot of the women of our nation neglect their children. Okay. Because most of them are single mothers, but I wonder why. We got to ask the question, why are a lot of you black women single mothers? Could it be because of your attitude? Could it be because of your pride? All right. Could it be because you constantly put your significant other down? Could it be because you're undisciplined? You have a man, but yet you're running around advertising yourself to other men, committing adultery. Okay? You know? But then you get knocked up, have a child, and as time progresses and you age, all right, and you done ran your baby father off, and now you're looking for the next man, and the next man is not taking you serious because he don't want the extra baggage that you come with. All right. So our women have become cruel, man. They have become cruel. But this is part of the curses. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 56. It says, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Okay? So, these women of our nation, these mothers, all right, who used to be delicate at one time, they used to carry themselves like women, okay? Be submissive to their men, all right? Rear up the children with love and kindness, okay? But I have become evil towards their husband and towards their children, And we see that growing up in the ghetto. Okay, we see that growing up in the barrio, growing up on the reservation. Okay, now you got these white women that's running around claiming to be the Jews. A lot of them have a lot of children, man. But every time you see them with their children, they're more so in order. Okay, they're not. They're not talking back to their men. They're raising their children, as you can see, all right, from what I've witnessed, okay? Now, what goes on behind closed doors, the sexual abuse, the pedophilia, I don't know about that. But, it just pretty much shows you that the so-called white people that claim to be the Jews, they don't fall under these curses in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter that I'm reading right now, okay? Because their women are more submissive. They don't really back talk to their husbands, all right? But the women of our nation, they have that bad attitude, snapping their fingers, all right, rolling their eyes, talking all loud and being outspoken, okay, putting their man down, and and cursing out their children, all right? That's a common thing in the ghetto amongst our people, among our women, right? Our mothers, told us how much we remind them of our fathers, and it was always negative things they had to say, okay? So these are the curses, man. And then, the so-called white man plagued our communities with drugs and alcohols growing up in the 80s, man. And in the 90s, early 90s, I had a lot of friends whose mothers were addicted to cocaine and alcohol, man, and it was just rough growing up, man, their parents being addicted to this fucking poison, to these chemicals out there, man. They put themselves first. They became selfish and disregarded their children, man. Okay? To the point where, a lot of kids were starving. A lot of my friends couldn't, they didn't have food. They was malnourished, and back then, we were more social. We were socialized more so than the kids in this generation. It wasn't no social media and internet and all that shit. Everything was a community. So it wasn't a big deal for somebody else to take for some mother on the block to take another person's child in and feed them, or maybe house them for a night or two at their house, spend the night and all of that kind of stuff. All right, wasn't a big deal, or the bottom of meal, bottom some Chinese food, McDonald's, whatever the hell, because these kids ain't eating like that. All right, because their mothers are addicted to whatever drug that they're on. Okay, but this just goes to show you that these are the curses that befell our people, man. You know, the white women, especially the ones who call themselves Jews, they don't really go through this, man. All right? Scriptures say the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. The Spirit is the prophecy that will befall the nation of Israel. Okay? So, you know, even when it comes to being mothers and taking care of your children, our women lack that. They lack that maternal instinct because of these curses. All right? Yeah, women like to go out there, you know, twerk on the rod and do everything that it takes for pleasure to get themselves knocked up to bear children, but they don't want to raise the children, you know? They don't want to raise the children. They want to go out there clubbing, being whores, committing adultery, you know? And like I said, get themselves knocked up and enjoy the pleasures of regeneration, but they don't want to rear the children up. They don't want to be responsible mothers. All right, there's plenty of cases of, you see it on the news every now and then, of these young mothers getting pregnant and throwing their newborn babies down the trash chute or leaving them in a dumpster. All right, or curbsiding them in front of some damn hospital. All right, even worse, look at the abortion rate among our women. You know, once a woman has been impregnated and she got a seed growing inside of her, a certain instinct is supposed to kick in, man. You know, for her to take care of her body and take care of the unborn seed that's developing inside of her. But our women are quick to go, you know, get abortions, man, because they don't want to be slowed down. They want to, you know, finish school. They want to keep going out to the clubs, and you know, they want to keep committing adultery and being whores and sluts, man. You know, but having a baby will slow that process down. So they choose rather to get rid of it. Okay. But you know, that's pretty much the point on this video, man. You know, happy Mother's Day. Our women have lost their maternal instincts. Say shalom, Baba to you brothers out there, man. Keep fighting a good fight. Stay prayed up. We almost out of here. Shalom.